Malcolm exited the corporate institutionalized world in 2012 to create the opportunity to follow his passion, which is entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial finance. He wanted to go back into the street, to the coalface of business, and hence the opportunity to work with entrepreneurs where they make it happen. He inspired the energy and diversity of the people of South Africa, and he enjoys the opportunity to share his life and learnings experience, particularly with young entrepreneurs. To give you an indication of some of the roles that he's filled over the years, he was the National Executive Chairman of Grant Thornton, South Africa. He's been the Non-Executive Chairman of the South African Venture and Private Equity Association. He was the founder and CEO of MD Growth Investments. Up until 2012, he was an Executive Director at Sasfin Holdings and Sasfin Bank. And recently, he's become the Non-Executive Chairman of a company called Growvest, which I'm sure you're going to talk to us a little bit about as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and good evening, everybody. And in particular, thank you to you for inviting me to speak in what must be one of the great spaces in Johannesburg and perhaps in South Africa. This space, and of course, the space across the road, which is just absolutely amazing. I must tell you that when Annabelle approached me a couple of weeks ago to speak, confirm, I protested vehemently. She insisted, so I thought to myself I'd just share a few thoughts and experiences with you. I'm not an investment analyst, I'm not an economist, I'm not an asset manager, I'm not a wealth manager. So I guess how I might describe myself is a reasonably well-informed South African. So I try and keep my ear to the ground, I try and keep my antenna jammed on open. I try and filter out the noise, try and identify which dots are important and seek to connect them. And in all of that, to try and create a framework for an organized and disciplined life in this country. And of course, an organized and disciplined investment framework. And as we know, living in this country, that is not always easy. But I must declare that I've known Annabelle and the Dallimore family for a long time. My wife Simone is here in the audience as well. And we've got to know Steve and Joe and the family in the early 90s. And what sticks in my mind is a particular weekend where, as families, ourselves and a few other families, we went away we spent Mark, you were there as well. We spent a weekend in Johannesburg having fun and learning together with our children. And at that stage, I would say that Annabelle's probably at 10. And what was apparent at that stage was that she was going to grow up to be a tall and beautiful and accomplished woman. It was not apparent that she was going to grow up and be launching a stock shop in the Everard pre-gallery. So hardly to talk about an investment strategy and investment philosophy, obviously that can only be done in the context of a society. And this country which we live in is really, it's an amazing place. We know that it's beautiful, it's got wonderful natural resources, most incredible people. And in so many respects, it's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to live here and to experience what we have experienced here. But on the other hand, we know as well that it can be maddening, it can be frightening, it can be frustrating, and at times downright dangerous. I'm sure many of you have seen or have read at least the reports of the Goldman Sachs report, which was released about 2 weeks ago, which is on the theme of 20 years of democracy in South Africa. And it is, I think, a well-balanced report. It talks about what is good, what is not so good, and obviously what is bad. And I think that Colin Coleman has done a really great job. When I think about it and stand away from the detail, I perhaps reflect on my experience this morning at my Pilates class, where my instructor was thumping me hard for an hour, and she was saying, the core has to be strong, the core has to be strong. The core has to be strong. The message being that if the core is strong and the center is holding, by and large, with a couple of things maybe not working so well, but by and large, you can function. And I would say that my assessment of it in the context of connecting the dots, as I've said, is that the core is functioning. The country, by and large, is functioning. It works. Every single day we go out and we do our things. And I think we need to be careful not to be caught up in the periphery and the extremities which can maybe distract our focus and possibly lead us to incorrect conclusions. Of course there are red flags, and of course there are very many things of great concern. But by and large, in my view, the center is holding and the core is firm. It could have been a lot better, and obviously there's a lot to do. But I would venture a guess that of all the people in this room this evening, if we had been standing in this magnificent space 20 years ago, I think the building would have been here 20 years ago, even better having a glass of wine, on the eve of the election, and we were looking ahead 20 years, and we were envisioning and wondering what the country was going to look like 20 years hence. And if I'd been bold enough and brave enough to describe the country as we have it today, I think almost every person in the room would have said, I'll take it. And I'd go further and say that probably of each and every one of us, if we look at our wealth as it was in 1994, whether you want to assess it in rand or in dollars or in euro or in sterling, and no matter what your financial and your business activities have been over a 20-year period, you are, at least in financial terms, substantially wealthier today than you were 20 years ago. So that are my terms of reference in terms of assessing where we are and what the opportunities are. For me, the biggest concern is really not necessarily a South Africa specific concern. And here I want to quote to you, and I don't know, probably quite a number of people in the room would have read the article in yesterday's Business Day written by Joseph Stiglitz. And I'm sure many people would know that Joseph Stiglitz is a Nobel laureate economist and a professor at Columbia University. So his views are not to be taken lightly, controversial and uncomfortable, though they may be. And just as an irony, his column appeared yesterday in the space where the late David Gleason's column would ordinarily have been published. Anyway, he said the following: our current difficulties are the result of flawed policies. There are alternatives, but we will not find them in the self-satisfied complacency of the elites that lead us, whose incomes and stock portfolios are once again soaring. Only some people, it seems, must adjust to a permanently lower standard of living. Unfortunately, those people happen to be most people. So that is not a South Africa specific problem, and it is clear to me, and I think to anybody who thinks about it, that the massive imbalances in global societies which manifest also obviously particularly in South Africa against our specific history as we all know it to be, is that there is an inherent instability in the system. And it seems to me, and I'm not an expert in this, that there's going to need to be some significant paradigm shift, some new financial frameworks and some new financial terminology if we're really going to transition into a comfortable and successful future. think another aspect of this shift that's going to need to take place, and again I'm addressing it to all of us in the room, is going to need all of us to contribute and to participate in some way. And even, dare I say, we're going to need to make some sacrifice. And I think if we look at a lot of the things that are going on in this country, the mining strikes, the massive disruptions in the civil protest in the townships, and many of the other issues which trouble us in our daily lives, there is going to need to be a significant shift in order to change. Having said all that, I don't want you to think at all that I'm negative or pessimistic. I think there are fantastic opportunities in this country to build wealth, to create wealth, and to maintain wealth. And again, as I said, I'm not an analyst, I'm not an asset manager, I'm not a wealth manager. I suppose I might be qualified by experience, just to share with you a little bit about that. I've been an investor for some 40 years. My first experience investing in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was as a full-time student in 1968. And then some of you in the room, not many, but some in the room will remember that there was a new listing boom in 1968. I, at the time, in order to supplement my needs, was working twice a week at the Tattersalls, Wednesdays and Saturdays, earning 10 rand an afternoon. And if the bookmaker had a good day and felt in a good mood, he maybe got another couple of rand. And in the course of that listing boom, there were a number of IPOs, public offerings, and there was big hype and big excitement, and those public offerings were many times oversubscribed. I can tell you this is exactly as it was for myself, a very close friend of mine, today is a professor at Harvard University. Be that as it may, we applied for shares in the two public listings. One was a company called Glowlink, the other was a company called Barsab, which was a merger of Barlows. I can see it and remembers it. A sort of a combination of Barlows and South African group. Glowlink was issued a rand a share, 200 shares for 200 rand, and Barsab was a 2 rand a share, or 100 shares for 2 rand. And 400 rand of my earnings went into my first investments. And the shares came onto the market at a massive premium, and I thought to myself, what am I working at the Tattersalls for? What am I trying to get this leak off the green? Life is so much easier if you only know what you should be doing. Anyway, the market collapsed, many will remember, in 1969, it was Sage, a national growth fund, and Abramson, and other spectacular collapses, and obviously I went back to the smokeful Tattersalls on Wednesdays and on Saturdays. But it was a fantastic lesson and a very important lesson at an early stage in my investment experience, for which I'm really very grateful. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that if I maybe refer to my namesake, Malcolm Segal, and he, as you know, has written many more books than I have written, and I urge those if you haven't read them to read them. But in one of his books, I can't remember which one exactly it is, he talks about the 10,000 hours. And if you've done your 10,000 hours, you qualify by experience. So I can say, I've done my 10,000 hours. So let me share with you some of my thoughts and experiences around investment and investment opportunities in the context of wealth. So clearly you need a well-defined investment strategy, and it's all a matter of risk and return. In my most recent years, since 1998, when I left the auditing and accounting profession, moved into private equity and more recently into venture capital, what I've learned is really keep it very, very simple. It's all about time's money. What do I mean by that? Many of these young venture capital, people seeking venture capital and people seeking private equity come and implore you with their business plans, and you can see the passion and the energy, and you listen carefully, and at the end of the presentation you say, let's keep it simple. if I put in a rand today, how many rands am I going to get back and when? Am I going to get 2 rand, 5 rand, 10 rand? When am I going to get it back and how am I going to exit? So that for me is my very simple investment strategy. Keep it simple, look at time's money and drown out all the rest of the noise. Within the context of my school fees and scars as they've been over the years, a few thoughts from my side. I agree with you. Maybe Adrian won't be that happy that I say this, but I have always had greater success managing my own money than giving it to asset managers to manage it. There may be room in certain circumstances for a combination of private management or fully third-party managed. But for me, the greatest success insofar as it's been has been to manage my own investments. Clearly, one has to take a global view. We're privileged today to effectively to have an abolition of exchange control. I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are. Somebody mentioned recently that the investment universe of equities only is some 45,000 different counters across the different markets. In South Africa, we have just less than 400 stocks, and that's including the Alt-X. So clearly, in the context of all of this, there's a massive opportunity, and one should be investing a significant portion of one's wealth in offshore markets. What is interesting, what I've learned, and maybe not many people are that aware of this, is that there are a number of different ways to structure the offshore wealth. There's the obvious way of moving your money out of foreign exchange allowance, you, your wife, your kids, your cats, your dogs, etc., etc., and effectively, in that point, from that perspective, one can export significant amounts of funds. There's obviously asset swap mechanisms, and there's also the insurance wrapper. I'm not sure how many people are aware of the insurance wrapper offered by institutions, for example, such as Old Mutual through Scania. Obviously, it has significant tax benefits if you do it in that way. But my broad parameter would be to say invest 50% of your wealth in offshore markets. Having said all that, I would say again, I'm just sharing some of my last experiences. Notwithstanding that the Dow has gone from 8,000 when we hit the bottom to 16,500, and the S&P is peaking now at 1840, having been less than half of that 5 or 6 years ago. Notwithstanding that and the currency differences, for me, I've had greater success in the local market. And I'll share with you why that has been the case. Coming back to the just under 400 companies listed on the market, and the market capitalization of the JSE in total is around about 8 trillion rand, is more or less the number. Is that correct? About 8 trillion rand. So the top 40 stocks would account for 80% plus of that. And I think, and I urge you to think about this, there's a huge opportunity in some of the 360 companies that account for the balance of the funds, being smaller companies with market capitalizations that probably don't exceed 2 to 3 billion rand. And there are a whole range of reasons with it. It's familiarity, it's our network, it's access to information, and in those companies, I think there's wonderful opportunity to earn significant returns. And when one invests in these smaller cap companies, and there's a space that Canon Asset Management is also quite interested in, from what I can see. You can buy a share in its early stages. If you're an early stage investor into some of these companies, you can buy shares 2, 3, 5, 7 rand, and look over a period of time to multiples. 3, 5, 7, 10 times money over a period of maybe 5 or 7 years. Of course, it needs to be backed by people. They need to have good business models that you can easily understand. There needs to be decent, but not too much governance. There needs to be financial statements that you can read and understand. And of course, you need to apply time and do your research, get to know the people, get to know the companies. So that, for me, is something that I would urge you to consider. And a few other ways which one has been able to add to the returns that one earns. Again, not that many people are familiar with it. It's through Regulation 28 and personal share portfolios. Many people have money invested in retirement annuities and pension funds and provident funds. And the opportunity to self-manage within some quite broad parameters, to self-manage those investment portfolios, in my experience, leads to better returns than the institutions offer. There's also the opportunity which one can get from some of the broking houses and some of the other asset managers to gear your portfolios. And I'm suggesting within modest proportions, certainly if you're investing in smaller cap companies, if you take a carry account or geared position of perhaps up to a third of the market capitalization, the impact on the return over a number of years is absolutely incredible. Of course, it's going to cost you some interest, which might not be tax deductible, but the acceleration on the return, in my experience, vastly exceeds the cost. An area which I would urge to be looking at quite carefully is emerging Africa. It's a tricky space. Perhaps not more than 5 or 7.5 or maybe 10% of the adventures of your portfolio. And there are a number of opportunities. You can go into direct investments, you can go into funds, or you can go into South African companies which are trading in those markets. And then, of course, there are all the alternative investments which Kevin and his organization specialize in, as do many others. I have to say, for years I'm quite conservative. I'm not strong on CFDs, hedge funds and options. I prefer long positions, and that's an investment strategy which, for me, over the years has worked well. To talk to my own book, if I can, for a few moments in conclusion, I'd like to talk a little bit about private equity and venture capital. An organization called Disruptive conducts investment research on a quarterly basis across all asset classes in South Africa. And if you look at the Disruptive research, you will see that the better quality private equity fund managers over extended periods of time, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, has consistently outperformed the listed companies. So I'm urging experienced investors to consider carefully some of these alternative some of these alternative vehicles, and in particular, I'm talking about private equity and venture capital. And to talk even more specifically to my own book, as was said in the introduction, I'm the non-executive chairman of a recently launched venture capital company, Growvest. Jeff Miller, the chief executive, is here. Annabelle has had some touch point on Growvest through her evolution to the point that she's got to today. But what's interesting about Growvest, as an example, is that it is a registered venture capital company with both the FSB and, most importantly, in terms of SARS and in terms of Section 12J. And it's remarkable how few people are aware of what Section 12J is about. Promulgated 3 or 4 years ago. Not an easy thing to get the registration with SARS as a venture capital company. But essentially, an investment in the venture capital companies registered with the FSB and with SARS, you get a rand in the rand deduction against your taxable income. It's uncapped. So it is a wonderful way to gain exposure to a different asset class with a totally different, with an adjusted risk-reward profile. In conclusion, if I can find my note over here, Michael Jordan, who I'm sure many of you know, is the recently retired or resigned chief executive of FNB, and he did a fantastic job at FNB. And he's now resident in Stellenbosch, and he has started his own venture capital company. So you're going to have to excuse me while I have it. I'd just like to share with you, this is extracts of an address that Michael gave in Stellenbosch last week. And I thought it just appropriate in the context that we're about, later in the evening, we're about to move on to the joys of wine and wine tasting. So Michael made 9 points in which he likened venture capital to wine. So the 9 points in synopsis briefly are as follows. He said, startups are like grapes. There's no way of really telling whether those grapes will turn out into good wine or end up as vinegar, because vinegar is also made from great-looking grapes. He went on to say there's no shortage of new ideas, as there's no shortage of wine in the world. The venture capital ideas and dreams will never be in short supply. And that's very, very true in South Africa. His third point is that patience is required. It can take up to 7 years before the roots are deep enough that the grapes start becoming interesting. His fourth analogy is that suffering is good. Vines suffer, and vines that suffer deliver better grapes. They need to be pruned hard. And when they are deprived of water and the roots go deeper into the ground, where there's more interesting chemicals that turn out into finer grapes. His fifth point is that there is a little room for sentimentality. Good winemakers need to have a passion. And likewise, great entrepreneurs also need to have a passion for what they will do. I'll skip number 6, I'll move to number 7. Stories work. Wine tastes a little better if you know a story about the wine farm or how it was made. And he says, the best deals I've seen is from an individual who can come in and tell a compelling story. It's somebody who you can look in the eye and decide you want to invest with. Some venture capital and great wine also have in common that it's a global game. I think we all know, and we need to, I'm sure that Annabelle is acutely aware of this, the real money in venture capital is made when you can internationalize your opportunity. The South African market is much too small to make massive money out of venture capital. So like good wine, you need to be able to internationalize your product. And lastly, he says, there's no formula to success. There may be standard methods to make wine, but in the end, it's science plus art. Likewise, there's not a simple formula for creating a successful business. So with those few thoughts that I've shared with you, Annabelle, again, I want to wish you really every success with the launch of this fantastic and exciting road. I've had some small mentorship role in this process that Annabelle has been through. She shows many of the qualities of a great wine. And I would urge you to taste of her wine, taste of her platform, and I really wish you